Chapter 102, Interlude, of Dragons and Ages. Twilight sighed softly to herself as she cleaned up a bit in the dining room, clearing up the dishes that had built up with so many unexpected guests. Nobody was going to be storytelling today, since Spike had gone flying first thing in the morning, and sought his bed almost as soon as the story ended the previous night. Twilight could well understand that reliving the part of his adventure had been rough on him. Samus herself had stayed only long enough to let everyone know that they had left Melissa with the Luminoth to help streamline the reconstruction of Aether before seeking her own bed. As a result, everyone had parted ways for the day, those with chores seeing to them, and visitors exploring Ponyville. Twilight privately hoped Ponyville would still be standing come afternoon. As she cleaned up, she heard a frighteningly familiar sound from the map room. Dropping everything from her magical aura, she raced there to find the magical dome she had expected to see given the noise floating over the map. Her student, Starlight Glimmer, dropped out of the dome to land lightly on the map. As the portal closed, Starlight dropped the scroll from her magical grip and collapsed to the table, bursting into tears. Twilight approached cautiously. "Starlight?" she asked worriedly. Starlight lifted her head. "Oh, Princess Twilight." She wept softly, seeking comfort. I know you said it was dangerous to experiment with time spells like that again, and I remember what happened last time, but..." Twilight gently pulled her close with a wing. "Starlight, you've been gone for 2 weeks. What were you doing?" Starlight choked on her sobs. "I was trying to prevent Spike from going missing." Twilight winced. She had forgotten how much Starlight had come to rely on Spike before the experiment went wrong. She'd been just as fervent in trying to find a way to bring him back as Twilight had. Before she could say anything, however, Starlight continued speaking. "But every timeline where I succeeded was horrible," she wailed. "In some, the Crystal Empire never vanished, and wound up conquering Equestria and ruling with an iron hoof. In others, the land was torn as Tyark, Nightmare Moon, Queen Chrysalis, and Discord fought over what was left." She shuddered violently. The worst was when the world was all but consumed by a horrible blue poison. Phazon? Twilight thought, shocked. How could Phazon find its way to Equestria? Then again, it was a modification of Starlight's spell gone awry that sent him away in the first place. "I'm sorry, Princess," Starlight sobbed. I just wanted to bring him back." Twilight smiled softly. "He's back," she told her student comfortingly. He is?" Starlight sniffed, struggling to get control of herself. "You managed to bring him back?" "No," Twilight corrected. "He found his own way. But, he's a bit different. Still him, but, different." Starlight managed to rein in her sorrow. "So, where is he?" "He's out flying for today," Twilight explained. "He has wings now?" Starlight gasped. Twilight couldn't help but chuckle. "And then some," she joked, looking forward to Starlight's reaction to her little friend. Spike flew firmly and strongly, though he wasn't sure where he was going. When he first woke up that morning, he just meant to fly around Ponyville, and possibly Canterlot, for most of the day to clear his head, but as soon as he was high enough, he felt called somewhere. From the power of the call, he could tell it would have any ordinary dragon racing to respond, but the mental discipline he gained from Samus, and later, the Chozo spirits, meant that he could resist the call and its physical sensations easily. Not that he minded glowing, but the itching was uncomfortable. While he could have chosen to ignore the call, something inside him suggested he should respond, a memory that hadn't yet fully returned, but one of importance in any case. As such, he had already left the settled lands of Equestria, and now flew over rather barren land, filled with rocks and the occasional magma flow. Here and there he could sense gem deposits, both natural and artificial, but they didn't catch his attention at the moment. As he flew, he spotted quite a few dragons. Unlike the 3 he'd encountered when he had been flying with Rainbow, they gave him a wide berth save for a few respectful glances, except for the dragonesses. They sent cat calls and wolf whistles his way, and the occasional pickup line. He wasn't entirely sure how to handle that. Eventually, He left the areas where dragons were apparently more settled and approached a wide body of water, what appeared to be an inland sea. He stopped as he saw it, gazing out over the water to an island that jutted out of the waves, the mountain atop it twisting and curving as it rose from the ground, its configuration far from natural. There was something familiar about the crystal-studded island. "I've been here before," he murmured. The call was coming from inside the island. Without hesitation, he dove down, skimming over the surface of the water towards his destination. Strange creatures used their tails to hurl large boulders at him once they got over the surprise of his approach, but he moved far too fast for them to target him. When he reached the island itself, he shot upward, diving into a tunnel entrance even as the wake of his passage bowled over several of the creatures. Spires of stone crashed up and down like massive teeth through the tunnel, but Spike found he remembered the pattern, remembered racing through it with someone at his side. Dodging past both stone and crystal spires that tried to trap him, he reached a maze of crystal, following his returning memories to follow his former path through. Before long, he reached the center, and flew silently upwards towards a massive conglomeration of crystals. Sitting within it, a blue dragon is not much larger than Spike's pony friends clutched a scepter taller than herself, the large red stone at its top pulsed with energy. As Spike slowly approached, he saw the start of tears in her eyes. "Spike!" she whispered sorrowfully, a new surge of power pulsing out of the bloodstone. Spike landed gently behind her. "Ember?" The dragoness yelped, spinning around and waving the scepter threateningly. "I ordered I was not to be disturbed," she snapped out. "Who are you? How dare you defy your dragon lord?" Spike couldn't help but chuckle. "Ember, you called me," he insisted. "I didn't know the scepter could summon one specific dragon. Then again, I didn't even know what it was the first time I held it." "You held Ember," cut herself off, her eyes widening. "But, the only one who knew Spike got to the scepter before me was Garble, and he'd never." She frowned, narrowing her eyes. Energy pulsed through the bloodstone scepter again. This time, Spike let it manifest as he glowed. Ember's eyes widened. "Spike? Is that really you?" Spike chuckled. "Yeah, it's me. I know, different than you expected, right?" "I'll say," Ember mused, circling him. "Now that I look again, I can see it's you, but it's like expecting Clark Colt but getting Superman." She shook her head and scoffed. "Not that I actually read those comics of yours. Twilight sent me to better my understanding of dragon/pony relations." "Twilight sent you some of my comics?" Spike gasped out, sounding hurt. "I took good care of them," Ember insisted, pulling the comics out from between two crystals, showing they were still in good condition. "And not that I care or anything," she grumbled. Spike couldn't help but chuckle. "Miss you too, Ember," he replied softly, pulling her into a one-armed embrace. Ember promised a slow and painful death to anyone who claimed she was blushing from being pressed so close against Spike like that. She extricated herself from the embrace as quickly as possible, and absolutely did not revel in it or return it at all, no matter what anyone said. She stared up at Spike, trying to figure out what could have possibly happened to him, only to flinch as information started pouring into her mind from the scepter. Feeling his memories being read, Spike let it go until it reached the point where he left off with the others, then cut it off. "Sorry," he teased. "If you want the rest, you're going to have to come and listen like the others." Ember rolled her eyes. "Not that I care personally, but it's probably best the Dragon Lord know the full story of how a dragon became as powerful as you have while remaining so gentle." While she maintained her outward toughness, inside she almost withered away at the pain Spike had been through. Smiling, Spike spread his wings. "Come fly with me?" he asked. Chuckling, Ember spread her own wings. "I'd say try to keep up, but I have my dignity to think of now. So stay behind me." "Not gonna complain about that view," Spike joked, only to clamp his jaws shut, blushing profusely. "Where the heck did that come from? Damn it, Gandrate is rubbing off on me." Ember hid her own blush with a confident grin. "Get used to it," she replied, taking to the air, Spike following after her shortly. Ridley stared at the necklace in his hand. "Are you certain about this?" he demanded of the dark presence from within the horn. It doesn't look like a dragon relic. It was shaped by pony magic, the voice replied, but its original form was a dragon's bloodstone. The sage that forged it sought to use its power to give himself strength that dwarfed any other, never realizing the wicked dragon whose stone it was would ride inside it, corrupting and twisting any who wielded it. You need not concern yourself, though. When a dragon eats the bloodstone of another, the other ceases to be. The metal will digest just as readily. Shrugging, Ridley opened his jaws wide, dropping the alicorn amulet straight down his gullet. He paused as he saw two figures flying through the sky outside his cave. He snarled, flexing his limbs as he recognized one of them. "Not yet," the former Emperor cautioned. "We want them completely annihilated. We want absolute vengeance. We will strike when we are fully prepared." "What else do we need?" Ridley demanded angrily. "Something else that is within this cave," the Ying replied, drawing Ridley's attention to a seemingly ordinary crystal buried within. "It's almost ready. Once it is, we will absorb it and grow ever stronger, or perhaps not. It seems we will have an ally in this." The crystal pulsed with blue light, and a black visage appeared, a helmet with blue visor, glowing with fury. "Hello, Mother," the Ying Emperor greeted. "The last vestiges of your children await to serve you." Ridley growled deep in his throat as he saw the hunter, and yet not the hunter, appear in the crystal, a face he knew, even as the crystal itself took on properties he knew all too well. "Explain!"